All right, ready for this? Today, we are going deep, deep into a service that says it can, like, I don't know, make you a social media star overnight. It's called SocialWick. We're pulling all of our info directly from them, straight from their podcast. But we're going to bring our own style, right? Our own perspective to this. Because honestly, their podcast, it's a little serious for me. So is this thing the real deal? Can SocialWick really skyrocket your online presence? Or is it just hype? Let's find out.
It is interesting that our source material is actually SocialWick's marketing. It's kind of like giving us a peek behind the curtain.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like we're seeing exactly how they try to get people to use their services. So first things first, what is SocialWick? I mean, their podcast makes it sound like this is it, the ultimate solution to get more followers.
Well, they definitely seem pretty confident. According to their podcast, SocialWick has been around since 2017, and they've already got over 1 million customers. They even name-drop some top-tier companies, influencers, and artists.
Oh, the name dropping starts early, huh? Well, I guess that does make them sound legit. They also keep using this phrase, real authentic growth. I'm quoting directly from their podcast.
Yeah, that's a good phrase.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that? Real and authentic growth. But it's also kind of vague, right? Makes me wonder if they're just like tapping into this desire we all have to grow our following,
Yeah.
but without actually explaining how they deliver on it.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, don't worry about the hard stuff. We'll take care of all that. You just focus on being awesome. But
Yeah,
you do kind of wonder what they're actually doing behind the scenes.
totally. Kind of like those get-rich-quick schemes, right? Sounds tempting,
Yeah.
but too good to be true.
Okay, so we've got this company. They've been around a while. They've got a lot of customers. At least that's what they say. And they say they can give us real growth. But what are they actually selling?
Their list of services is, well, it's impressive. They basically cover every major social media platform out there. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, even music platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. Oh, and there's more. SEO services too, like guest posts and website traffic.
Wow. That's a lot. It's like they're trying to be, what, the one-stop shop for online growth?
Yeah. Makes you wonder if they can really be experts in everything, though. I mean, when you do so much, it makes you think maybe they're focused on quantity over quality.
That's a great point. So for this deep dive, how about we focus in on their Instagram services? I feel like that's what people think of first when they hear social media growth.
Makes sense. I mean, Instagram is still a huge deal for influencers and building your brand.
Okay, so according to SocialWick's podcast, they offer Instagram followers, post likes, video views, story views, live video likes, and, wait for it, power likes.
Power likes.
Yeah.
What are those? What makes a like powerful?
It sounds kind of mythical, right? Like a
Yeah.
supercharged, like,
I think they're trying to say that certain likes mean more to Instagram's algorithm. Probably plays into that psychology of social proof. Like if people see a post has a lot of likes already, they're more likely to like it too.
so it's kind of a popularity contest. Like you want the cool kids hanging out with your posts, so it seems more desirable.
Yeah, exactly. All about perception, creating this illusion of influence. But does that really lead to long-term growth? That's the big question.
And that brings us to what SocialWick says are their best features. Fast delivery. They say orders start in minutes, and they emphasize the quality of their profiles, making sure they've got pictures and posts and bios to seem more credible.
And of course, 247 customer support. And affordable pricing. It does sound appealing, especially if you're struggling to get noticed on Instagram. It's quick, easy, and affordable. What's not to love?
I know, right? At least on the surface.
We've all been there, right? The easy path isn't always the best path. We need to look deeper. Do these features really translate into people actually interacting with your content? Or is it just a temporary boost?
It's like those instant ramen noodles, right? You eat them and you're satisfied for a minute. But they're not exactly a healthy long-term solution.
Perfect analogy. Sometimes the most tempting things are actually the least nourishing.
Okay, so how does the SocialWick magic actually work? Their podcast says it's super simple. 3 steps. 1, choose what you want. 2, give them your info, like your username or post link. And 3, pay. Boom, done.
Right. So simple. Like they're saying, don't even think about it, just click and grow. But we need to be asking the important questions here.
Absolutely. We're not here to tell you to use SocialWick or not to use it. We're here to look at the info they've given us and try to understand what it all really means.
Exactly. We're all about giving you the power to decide for yourself. So far, we've learned about where SocialWick came from, what they offer, and their focus on speed, quality, and affordability. But are they backing up their claims? What's the reality behind the marketing? That's what we're going to explore next.
So before we jump into exactly how SocialWick works, we were talking about their big promises, right? Speed, quality, affordability. But are they actually delivering on that? Let's see what they've got.
All right, so let's get into it. Their podcast throws out some big numbers. They say they've already fulfilled over 10 million orders and have over 500,000 happy customers. Plus, get this, they say they've delivered like 230 million followers and 860 million likes.
Those are definitely some impressive numbers. It makes them seem like a really big deal, right?
Yeah, like there's some kind of social media magician, but honestly, I'm a little skeptical. How do we know if those numbers are real? Are they verified, or are we just taking SocialWick's word for it? That's the thing, right? Their podcast doesn't give us any other sources for these numbers. It would be nice if they could point to some reviews or industry reports, something to back up those claims.
Right. It's like they say, if it sounds too good to be true.
Exactly. Always be careful when a company is only using their own data to tell you how great they are.
Okay, let's say we do believe those numbers. What do they really tell us? I mean, a lot of followers and likes doesn't necessarily mean people are actually engaging with your content, right? You could have millions of followers and still have crickets in your comment section.
That's a really important point. It's like having a huge stadium full of people, but no one's cheering or singing along. A truly successful social media strategy, it's about building a community, people who are actually interested in what you have to say. It's about starting conversations, sparking debates, making connections, not just inflating numbers.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. You want people who are actually going to read your stuff, watch your videos, and interact with your brand.
Exactly. It's like the difference between having a casual acquaintance and a true friend. You might have a ton of acquaintances, but it's those close friends that really matter.
Okay, so this brings us back to SocialWick's whole thing about real, authentic growth. Based on what we've seen so far, it seems like maybe there's a gap between what they're saying and what they're actually delivering.
It's definitely something to think about. And it raises some important questions about the downsides. What are the risks of taking this shortcut?
Yeah, exactly. What do people need to know before they decide to buy followers or likes?
One of the biggest risks is getting in trouble with the social media platforms themselves. Most of them have rules against buying followers. If you get caught, they can penalize your account or even shut you down completely.
Whoa, seriously, you could lose your whole account.
Absolutely. And even if you don't get caught, there's still the risk of hurting your reputation. If people find out you bought followers, it can make them trust you less. Like finding out a magician's tricks are all fake, it takes away the magic,
It's like that saying, honesty is the best policy. People can usually tell when something isn't genuine.
For sure. Authenticity is so important. People connect with you more when they feel like you're being real.
Okay, so we've talked about the risks, but let's be fair. Are there any times when using a service like SocialWick could be a good thing? Like maybe in a very specific situation?
That's a tough one. Maybe there are some very specific cases where getting a little boost in your numbers quickly could be helpful. Like if you're launching a new product and need to show that people are interested right away, a small bump in followers might help. But even then, it's risky. And I wouldn't recommend it for the long term.
So it's like using a crutch when you have a sprained ankle. It helps you get around for a bit, but you don't want to use it forever. You need to actually strengthen your ankle muscles.
Perfect analogy. It's all about building a solid foundation of real engagement. That's what leads to real, lasting growth.
All right, so we've looked at their claims, the potential downsides, and even thought about a few scenarios where it might be okay. But it feels like we're dancing around a bigger question here. Is there a point where this kind of social media manipulation becomes unethical? Is it more than just a harmless marketing trick?
That's a great question. It makes you think about things like authenticity and transparency and how social media affects our sense of reality. What happens when we can't tell what's real and what's fake anymore?
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of a much bigger conversation about the values we bring to the online world.
You said it, and that's exactly what we'll be talking about in the last part of our deep dive. We'll dive into those deeper questions about what it means to use services like SocialWick and what it means for the future of social media. Stay with us.
We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into SocialWick. It's funny, the more we talk about this service, the more I think about how much social media matters to people. It's like this weird measure of success now, don't you think?
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, how these platforms have become so tied to how we see ourselves. Like, how much are we worth? You see people spending so much time trying to look perfect online.
Right. It's like we're all living in this digital fun house
right?
where everyone's trying to show off the best version of themselves. And that's exactly what SocialWick is playing on, right? Our insecurities.
Yeah, totally. It's that whole quick fix mentality. Why bother putting in the work to grow your following when you can just buy one? But as we've seen, those shortcuts don't really get you anywhere.
It's like building a house on sand. It might look good from far away, but it's not going to last.
Exactly. And when it all falls apart, it takes forever to rebuild that trust.
Okay, so let's get to the big question. Is using a service like SocialWick unethical? Is it just plain wrong to buy followers and likes?
That's a tough one. There's no easy answer. It really depends on how you look at it, what's important to you.
All right, so let's break it down. What are the different ways to see this?
Well, some people would say that buying followers is basically lying. You're creating this fake image of being popular, which could trick people into thinking you're more successful than you are.
Right, it's like that whole fake it till you make it thing, but taken way too far.
Exactly. And it gives an advantage to the people who are willing to cheat the system, while the people who are playing by the rules get left behind.
Yeah, it feels like it goes against the whole point of social media, which is to connect with people authentically.
But then again, some people would say it's just marketing, like any other type of advertising. I mean, companies pay for ads all the time to get in front of more people.
That's true. I guess it comes down to your intention, right?
Yeah, exactly. Are you using SocialWick to grow your audience legitimately, or are you doing it to trick people?
So there's this fine line between using these services ethically and being manipulative. How do we know where that line is? What would you say to someone thinking about using SocialWick?
I think the most important thing is to be honest with yourself. Why are you doing this? What are you hoping to achieve? And do those goals match up with your values?
And even if you're not using these services, you got to be aware of how they're changing social media. We need to be smart about what we see online. Don't just believe everything you see.
Exactly. Don't be fooled by the numbers. Look for real engagement. Ask yourself, does this person or this brand have a real community? Are they actually adding something to the conversation?
It's all about thinking critically and using social media in a way that's more mindful.
Right. Remember, real success isn't about how many followers you have. It's about the connections you make, the impact you have, the value you create.
Well said. So there you have it. We've gone deep into the world of SocialWick, looked at their claims, their services, and the ethical questions they raise. We've talked about the good, the bad, the potential benefits, and the potential risks. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. But we hope this deep dive has given you the information you need to make the right decisions about your own social media journey. Thanks for joining us.